Right now is Texas Congressman, medical doctor himself, Michael Burgess. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us. What's the state of play in Texas?
Well, good morning, Maria. The state of play in Texas is going to be interesting because the district that I represent, just north of the DFW airport, we're having a record turnout. We've had more people turn out so far in early voting than we had in the entirety of the 2016 total election. So it's a large number of people that are turning out. We've had a lot of people move to the area. We don't register by party in Texas, but 34% have had a Republican primary voting history, 24% a Democratic voting history. So clearly it's the Republicans that are turning out. But there's a lot of people that nobody's ever seen vote before here, and that's going to be the big question.
Look, how important do you think voters are thinking about oil fracking? Obviously, this is a major piece of business for Texas, and there's a flip-flopping on fracking that we've been talking about. Vice President Biden saying recently on the campaign trail now that he will not ban fracking if elected, but that hasn't been the case. Take a look.
Let me make it clear. I'm not shutting down oil fields. I'm not eliminating fracking. I'm investing in clean energy.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated.
Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Congressman, which is it? I mean, how would a Joe Biden victory impact fracking and oil in Texas?
Well, the former vice president did use the word eliminate, and that activity or that direction would clearly be devastating for the state. 600,000 jobs would be lost almost immediately on top of all of the pandemic losses that have occurred. So there's no way in the world the economy of this state could stand that. But look at it from a national security standpoint. The fact that we've no longer been dependent on Mideast oil for the past year and a half has really allowed the United States an unprecedented amount of diplomatic freedom to be able to make decisions around the world that are no longer dependent upon having to please some Mideast master. This is a good thing for the country that we've achieved this energy independence. People have talked about it for years, but Donald Trump got it done.
Yeah, I mean, the American Petroleum Institute is talking about 7.5 million jobs throughout the country impacted from a ban on fracking. That's out of 10 million jobs within the gas drilling industry. Do you think this is a priority for voters in Pennsylvania? What are they voting on? Is it the economy, jobs, COVID? What do you think?
Well, it should be in Pennsylvania, it should be in Texas, obviously Oklahoma. The president actually called us out as individual states at the last debate. He said, "Are you listening, Texas?" And I hope Texas was listening, because if they were, they heard some things that were kind of frightening. But, some ways, Maria, we've all got to do our job. We've got to run through the tape. This is an important election. Everybody needs to get out and have their voice heard. But I think the notion that Democrats will take Texas in any way, shape, or form, it kind of falls into the irrational exuberance category for me.
Okay. Let me ask you about the rise of COVID-19 cases, because El Paso County ordered a 2-week shutdown of non-essential services, including gyms, hair salons, in-person dining, amid growing coronavirus hospitalizations. Congressman, do you expect other Texas counties to do the same in the upcoming weeks? What's your sense of where we are in terms of protection against the COVID cases, which people are now worried about a second wave as the winter arrives?
Yeah, and it is a legitimate concern. The viral countermeasures, vaccines being probably the number one story, are literally just weeks away. It's been a little slower than I would have liked to have seen, but boy, look how fast it's gone. It was only last January that the DNA sequence of this virus was determined, and now 10 months later, we're talking about being on the cusp of having not one, not two, but three potential reliable vaccines ready to go. And of course, they should go to our medical frontline personnel and people in high-risk situations at first. But the other good news in this story is that this administration pushed ahead with getting the manufacturing of some of those vaccines going before their approval. So there will be a significant amount of product on the shelves, product in the pipeline when the all clear is given by the FDA to allow vaccination. And we were all encouraged when the president himself got sick, received the Regeneron polyclonal antibody cocktail and did so well as a result. Clearly, there's some big steps being taken as far as treatments, and we don't lose the number of people who become sick and hospitalized sick. We're not losing the number of people that we were in March and April. So that's another good indication that things are significant, but and I'll just tell you this, I'm not sure lockdowns work. People have to be careful, wash your hands, watch your distance, wear a mask, but lockdowns, it's been pretty painful.
Yeah, it sure has. And James, we've talked about this a number of times. The president has been clear, James Freeman, that there will be no more lockdowns. Take it over, James.
Yeah, the economic costs are staggering, and I'm wondering, Congressman, do you think politicians will avoid the panic we saw last spring when they enacted these strict lockdowns? Do you think that could happen again this winter, or have we learned from that experience that that particular cure was worse than the disease?
James, good to see you again. I trust we've learned from that experience because, last March, this was unknown. You saw bad scenes on the ground from China, bad scenes on the ground from Italy. Nobody wanted that, but we've got a great deal more experience. And again, the clinical experience that's been gained treating this virus is vastly different today than it was in March. And the armamentarium with which our hospitals have to treat and our doctors have to treat patients, much improved from those early days when literally you had nothing.
And I shouldn't call it a cure, by the way. It didn't work.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that very last part.
Well, I was going to say I shouldn't call shutdowns a cure because it's not even clear they saved lives.
No, and when the history of this period is written, my personal opinion is that shutdowns will not be seen as effective as people believed they would be in the beginning. But that's just personal opinion. I have no data to back that up, just observational data from where I live.
Congressman, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks very much. We'll be watching these final days headed into the election. Michael Burgess, thank you, sir.